Hi everyone, Chapter 16 and Chapter 17 are combined in one quiz. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on some questions to review. So this is Chapter 16 and 17 test review video. A photographic lineup, this is from Chapter 16. A photographic lineup consists of a group of pictures with which the eyewitnesses is asked to look at it and tell the officer if the suspect is in the group. A person who has been detained based on reasonable suspicion can be required to participate in a show-up that is held at the location where he or she was stopped. It's also called a curbstone or curbside. So if somebody's detained because they think he stole a purse, then they could be required to stay there for the victim to be driven by. A suspect can be taken to the police station for a lineup if the police have probable cause to arrest that person. But probable cause is not required to conduct a photo lineup because it's a photo. A suspect, let's see here. There is no Fifth Amendment rights as regarding a voice exemplar during a lineup. That's kind of a confusing question. The suspect does not have a Sixth Amendment right to have an attorney present at a show-up or curbside. A suspect does have a Sixth Amendment right to have an attorney present at a live lineup that's conducted after the preliminary hearing. There is no Sixth Amendment right to counsel at a photo lineup. The people who are placed in a lineup should look sufficiently alike so that no one stands out as the person suspected of committing the crime. You're allowed to have more than one lineup in a case. Investigators are. Coaching witnesses at lineups violates the suspect's due process rights. It should never be done or the case could be dismissed. If a lineup is held in a jail viewing room, the lighting should be at a level similar to what the lighting was at the crime scene. That can be hard. I recommend it to be videotaped. For my advanced photo students, I teach you how to videotape live lineups. A show-up or curbstone curbside is most likely to be conducted in the field because officers must have probable cause to transport a suspect to the station for a lineup. So it helps you avoid that, not having to transport them by having them just stand there in the field. When a photographic lineup is done, the suspect can have the identification declared inadmissible if the group of pictures that was used were unduly suggestive. Your suspect's white, you have all Asian males in the picture. Hello. That's obviously suggestive. A suspect has the right to have an attorney present during a show-up only for show-ups held after the first court appearance. A suspect has the right to have an attorney present during a lineup only for lineups held after arraignment. Some sticky rules there. A suspect who is not present when the pictures are shown to the witness has the right to have an attorney present during a photo lineup. Never. That was a trick one. They don't. For photo lineups, there's no attorney rights. When a suspect exercises his or her Sixth Amendment right to have an attorney present during a lineup, the attorney can observe the lineup, but they cannot dictate it. A suspect has the right to have an attorney present when a witness is asked to identify a suspect in court, during a lineup conducted after the first court appearance, at a show-up or curbstone or whatever conducted the day before the trial. There is a right to have an attorney present for all of those. A lineup violates due process if the procedure is conducted in a manner that is suggestive, unduly suggestive. Due process mandates that all of the participants in a lineup have similar physical characteristics. When deciding if a show-up held prior to arrest satisfies due process, the judge will consider whether the eyewitness had a good opportunity to view the suspect while the crime was being committed. So could you really see the suspect when the crime was committed? So that's definitely looked at. All right, let's also review Chapter 17 now. Prosecutors routinely Skip that one. The police should double check to make sure they have evidence to prove every element of the crime before taking the case to the prosecutor. That's true. The police, The police should advise the prosecutor of all of the facts known to them that might affect the credibility of a witness. Definitely. The good, bad, and ugly, the prosecutor wants to hear it all. The investigating officer needs to maintain records so that he or she can locate each piece of evidence in the case when needed. Well, the evidence should be logged into property and evidence, so that shouldn't be an issue. Preservation and storage of evidence is the responsibility of the prosecutor assigned to the case. That's false. That's the responsibility of the police department that collected the evidence. Uncooperative witnesses may be subpoenaed as well as cooperative witnesses, because if someone's uncooperative, they could be treated as a hostile witness. They could also be put in jail temporarily to ensure that they're there to testify. The police are allowed to help eyewitnesses refresh their memory prior to trial. That's true. They're just not allowed to tell them what to say. And we already went over that. The facts... Yeah. An officer should not show emotional feelings toward the defendant during trial. An officer should try to talk in layman's terms and not try to talk in technical terms that are above the jury's understanding. Officers should not talk to jurors outside the courtroom. No, no, never, never. Don't do that. Between the arraignment and the trial, the detective should not contact the defendant directly. No. Detectives, officers, anyone, crime lab people, should not contact the defendant. Say bye-bye to your career if you do that. When does before the trial, or between the arraignment and trial. Obviously, they have to contact the defendant before that, but between arraignment and trial, they don't. That's the prosecutor's job. And there's investigators that work for the the district attorney's office, and they could do follow-up work. When deciding what charges to file, the prosecutor is concerned with whether the case can be won at trial. When presenting a case to the prosecutor, a police officer should discuss the witnesses and tell the prosecutor both the strengths and the weaknesses of each witness. The police department or a law enforcement department, could be a sheriff's department, is responsible for preserving the physical evidence until trial. The prosecutor should be told which tests the police lab conducted on the evidence. All test results should be given, no matter what the results are. Failing to tell the prosecutor about tests performed on a vital piece of evidence that came out negative will cause a problem, because the prosecutor may think the case is stronger than it really is. And it will cause the prosecutor to fail to disclose information to discovery, and that the defendant has a constitutional right to know. It may give the defense an edge during cross-examination, so it's a real major problem to the case. If an item of evidence is not in the courtroom when a witness is testifying about it, the judge may rule that the item may not be admitted into evidence. So there's some organizational skills that are needed on the prosecution side. Who is responsible for serving the subpoenas for the prosecution in a criminal case? The sheriff's department or police department. A subpoena is a document ordering a person to appear in court. The normal process for subpoenaing a local witness is the attorney prepares the subpoena, the attorney signs it, and the subpoena is served on the witness. Which of the following... the following can be used to impeach a witness. The prosecutor can impeach a witness through inconsistent statements made by a witness, prior arrests and convictions by a witness, eyesight and hearing could also be used. Police should interview a witness a few days before the date they are scheduled to testify if it helps refresh their memory. If the police officer displays hostility toward the defendant while testifying, the officer may be impeached for a bias, motive, or prejudice. So you could be impeached, which is major trouble, so you don't want to show that. If the police want to talk to the defendant between the arraignment and trial, they need to go through the prosecutor. If approached by a juror, be professional, but just explain that you're not allowed to talk to them about the case. And the police should release information to the media. Facts should be stated accurately without making inflammatory statements. You should actually have the watch commander handle that, not you. End of the review.